additional help if you have any questions. Since this is a group meeting, we've got a bunch of people in here. If you would please keep your lines on mute, we'll have time for questions at the end, and we can cover anything I skip over, any specific questions you have. So SlimCD is a system that gives you a number of different ways to process payments, and we'll be going over some of those. For those of you who have customer records or recurring billing that has already been imported, I'll show you where to find those. So we can go in and please go in and review your records today. Let us know if there are any omissions or anything looks out of place. I'll start with slimcd.com, which is your main resource. It's the web portal you will use to process and check reporting, as well as get any help you may need. We do also have desktop software and mobile apps available. From slimcd.com, if you click the support link up at the top, you can go to downloads of our desktop offerings and apps. There are also video tutorials available, as well as documentation that cover a lot of the basic functionality of our systems. If you do card-present transactions and are looking for card readers of any sort, if you click on Buy Hardware, there's a place where you can get EMV-based chip readers, as well as pin pads and magstripe readers for both desktop and mobile, if you're looking for those. Back to the main slimcd.com site, I'm going to go ahead and click Client Login at the top and log into an account. Your account will look very similar. It may differ slightly in some of the menu options depending on how it's set up, but everything I'm going to show to you today should be available to everyone. Once you log in, you see the main menus across the top. They give you access to the sub-menus that are down the left-hand side. So if I click on Account, it'll give me the account options on the left. Config will give me configuration options, etc. When you first log in, you start at the Stats menu, which is where you get most of your reports, and I'll cover the different reports that are most common in a little bit. Across the bottom from the main page, you have your Quick Access buttons, including Quick Access to Statistics, your in-depth transaction search, your batch reports, and charging a card. The last menu at the top, the VPOS or Virtual Point of Sale menu, also takes you to where you can charge a card. You can either click that and either choose Charge or VPOS credit cards, depending on how your account is set up. Or I can click Charge a Card, and that will take me directly to the Virtual Point of Sale. This is where you process a transaction for a customer you have not charged in the past. We'll go to saved customers and all that in a little bit, but just to show you a basic idea of how the system works. Essentially, type in the information you have. Not everything is required. If you want certain fields to be required for your employees, we can make it so that address and zip code, CVV, things like that are required for key transactions. Phone number and email obviously are not required. I'll put in a card number, expiration date, CVV, put in the amount to charge. A note about the functions below: allow duplicates is an override. We have a duplicate checking system that will not allow you to process the same payment twice within an hour. So the same card with the same amount and the same invoice number. If it's all the same within an hour, we catch it as a duplicate and stop it. If you are intending to process the same payment twice, checking this box will override duplicate checking and allow it to go through. Offline authorization code is only if you get an authorization code from your VoiceOff center. Invoice is a field you can put whatever you want. Any information that you need to show up in all your reports, you can put in the order/invoice field. It's 20 characters long, and you can put letters, numbers, special characters in there, and it'll show up on all your records. A note about business cards: we collect business card information if you want to put it in. It is not required. However, if you are processing a business card and you would save money on the transaction by entering a purchase order or sales tax information, we will prompt for this a second time. So we can actually detect a business card and prompt for that information later. I'll just put information in there now to show you how it works. Purchase order is whatever you want it to be. Sales tax can be 0. It's just informational. It does not add to the transaction amount or anything like that. This information is solely to show up on your customer's statement if they are paying with a business card. Once I submit, the transaction is processed, and here we have the results. In this case, we got an approval. It gives me the ticket number, which is the unique ID of the transaction in our system. the authorization code. AVS reply shows you if the address and zip code matched. In this case, the zip code did. CVV tells you if that matched. From here, I can print a receipt if I want to print one for my own records or for the customer. Printing a receipt will open up in a pop-up window and offer to print to whatever printer you select. Email receipt will allow you to email a receipt to your customer. Clicking on there, I can add an email address because I did not enter one previously. If you check keep a copy, it will send to both the from and the to email addresses. If you do not check keep a copy, it just goes to the customer, to the to. There's the receipt. I'm going to go ahead and send. And the receipt is sent. From here, I can click New Transaction, and I'm ready for the next payment. Now that the payment is in our system, I can find it in a number of ways. So I'm going to click the SlimCD logo at the top. This will take us back to the main screen. From there, I've got the Search Transactions button. This will take me to my in-depth transaction search. The in-depth transaction search is part of what we call the raw logs. So if I go to the Stats menu at the top, I can also get to there by going to View Raw Logs and Search Raw Logs. They'll take me to the same search screen. By default, it'll just bring up everything from today. If you're looking for a wider date range, you can expand that out. If you're looking to narrow down your search for a specific transaction, you can search by any of the pieces of information prompted, including last four, first or last name, amount, invoice number, etc. Down at the bottom, there are a number of different checkboxes. These are different pieces of information that the system will display. I recommend showing the default options that will give you enough information to identify the transaction without overwhelming. If you want to specify certain pieces, like if you want the email address or the phone number or the address or anything else that the system has, you can check the box and it will display it. When I submit, again, I just submitted and brought up all of today's transactions, in this case, the one sale I did this morning. There's also a record called email, transaction type email. That is your confirmation that the receipt was emailed to the customer. If I click on the sale, it brings up the details. From the transaction details, I can always reprint a receipt or email a receipt to the customer. I can also create a new transaction. There are a number of action buttons on the right side. Create a new transaction is the most powerful. What this does, when I click it, is bring us back to the virtual point of sale and pre-fill all the information with that same customer's information. From here, I have control by changing the transaction type. I can choose void to cancel out this sale. If this was done in error, they used the wrong card, they want to add to the total and just have one charge, I can void this as long as the batch isn't closed to cancel out the sale. I can also choose credit. That will issue a refund back to this card. For credit, you can do a partial amount. So if I charge them $30, as it says here, and I should have just charged them $20, I can choose 10 and issue a refund or a credit for that $10 by changing the amount and submitting. There's my approval, and there's my receipt showing that it is a credit has been processed for $10. Jumping back to the transaction search, and then just submitting again, brings me back to everything from today, and now you can see the sale, the email record, and the credit are all showing there. Also, when I click on the sale and click create a new transaction, if I leave the transaction type as sale, I can do a new sale based on this card on file. So let's say I needed to charge them an additional $40. I can put in that amount, and I can change any information that needs to be changed. If I need to adjust the address, put in a different email address, put in a different invoice number, I can adjust all that here, submit, and they'll charge the card again as a card on file. That is the first way to do card on file. Find any old transaction in the raw logs, bring it up with the search, click on create a new transaction, and you can recharge the card. So there's my sale, my credit, and there's a new sale that I did. The other action button is create new recurring on the right-hand side here. This will allow me to set up this customer to automatically be billed on a schedule. Create new recurring takes me to the place where I can adjust the name if I need to, set an invoice number that will show up on every transaction we process, set an email address and we can automatically send an email receipt to the customer when we bill them, set the amount it's going to bill, let's say it's going to be $50, and then set the cycle. Monthly is the most common and therefore the default. but we support everything from one-time deferred to daily to weekly, all the way up to yearly. Let's take monthly as an example. Rebill day is which day of the month it's going to be billed, or week, or quarter, or whatever. Let's take the example and say it's going to be billed on the 15th of every month. We specify when it's going to start. I don't want them to bill till next month, so I'm going to say it's going to start on 8/15, and you can set a number of payments. This is the number of payments that we will bill before deactivating the record. Leaving this at 0 will allow you to bill this customer automatically every month until you go in and turn it off. Setting this to a number will have the system count down and then deactivate the record automatically after it reaches that number of payments. So once I set that to 5, this customer will now be billed 5 times, starting at the 15th of August, and then after that 5th payment, it will deactivate automatically. To find your recurring records, I'll go back to the main screen again. In the stats menu, we have View Recurring. Clicking on View Recurring will give us a number of different reports. List expired cards is pretty self-explanatory. It's going to tell you who's coming up and expiring in the coming months. Recurring Setup will give you a couple of different options for our recurring engine. Start Recurring will let you specify when the system will run. It defaults to starting at 2 a.m. and starting to bill your customers then. If you want to delay it and have it start later, you're welcome to do so. Specify what happens if a recurring record is declined. We can retry automatically. The default is to retry every day for 30 days and then deactivate. If you wanted to retry every other day, every 5 days, every week, that's all up to you. How quickly it deactivates as well, and if we even retry at all, or just skip and try them again next month. You can also have an automated summary sent to you by putting your email address and checking this box. This will automatically send you your recurring report every time the system runs. So let's say you have 10 transactions to run on the first rolls around, we'll automatically bill those 10 customers and then send you that summary saying, here's the 9 that were approved, here's the 1 that was declined. You'll have that list, and you can also, again, know what's going to happen by what you set here. We can also send your customer receipt when they're successfully billed by checking this box, as long as their customer record has an email address in it. To find your recurring records, we can go to Search Recurring Customers. By default, we'll pull up all active recurring. You can switch that to inactive recurring or show everything. Or you can filter by a date range, or you can search by a specific item, search by name, by invoice number, or by recur ID, or by ticket number. By default, again, just pull up all the active ones, so I'll leave this as it is and submit, and this will bring up all the recurring records that are currently active on this account. From here, if I want to see one, I can just click on it. It'll bring up the schedule. I can change the schedule if needed. I can set it to inactive if I want to deactivate the record and they will no longer be billed. I can also see the customer's recurring history down at the bottom, so I can see all the times they've been billed over the months or years. If I go back here, again, we've got the whole list of all your active recurrings. You can also show recurring schedule, which will break down who's being billed by day. So it defaults to just showing all monthly. You can show any schedule you've got set up, or you can say all recurring schedules to show everything. I'll just leave it at monthly and submit, and this will give me a breakdown for the month. On the first, 10 people are scheduled to be billed for a total of $788.31. On the second, we've got 1 person, et cetera, all the way through the end of the month. If you want to see who's in each group, you can just click on the group. So I'll click on the first, and here's the 10 people who are set up to be billed on that day. Again, clicking into them will let you adjust the record, turn it off, whatever you need to do, even update an expiration date, like is shown in this example. Back again. If I want to see who's billed on the 15th, I click on that one. There are those records. Instead of showing what's scheduled to be billed, if I want to see what already happened, I can go to Show Recurring Activity, and this will give you the same type of report that can be automatically emailed. For any day or range of days, I'll drop this back to the first, you can see what the system has done down here at the bottom. Again, here's what actually happened. On the 1st of July, 10 people were billed for $755.71. If there are any declines, it would show those as a separate line item. I can see on the 2nd, one person was billed. On the 9th, one person was billed. And if I click again, I can see all the people who are part of that group. In this case, since these are actual transactions and not recurring records, clicking on it will take me to the place where I can reprint a receipt, create a new transaction to void it if I need to, or set up a new recurring or change the recurring record from the recurring button. So again, from the main menu, view recurring, if you have recurring records already set up, takes you to the place where you can see all those records. If you do not have recurring but have stored customers, that would be found under our Invoices menu at the top. From Invoices, we can go to Manage Customers, and you will find your customer database. This will be a list of all your customers with their customer ID, company name, individual name, whatever information you put in or was imported in. If you're looking for specific customer, you've got your search parameters at the top. You can search by customer ID, by name, by phone number, or by email. Or you can scroll through the list. You can export the list. Clicking this export button will give you an Excel CSV file. Just so you know, the export button will show up on a number of reports and will always give you a CSV file containing whatever data is below it. Clicking on a customer will bring you to that customer's records. From here, I can see the contact information on the left. This is all the saved customer information for this customer. And on the right, we have data on file, in this case, a number of different credit cards. In this example, I've got a Visa, an American Express, and a Discover. I can see the last four of the card and the expiration date. If I need to update the expiration date, I can update it and click the Update button. If I no longer should be using this card, I can click the Delete button to delete this record. And if you need to charge this customer, you bring up the record as I've done, choose a card. I'm going to choose the American Express in this case. Click the Send to VPOS button. This will pre-fill the virtual point of sale with this customer's information and the card I've chosen, in this case the American Express. If I decide instead I want to use a different card, I can go back, and in this case I'll choose the Visa, send to the virtual point of sale, fills everything the same with the Visa information. From here, all I need is the amount to charge. I can put in an invoice number and anything else I'd like. Once I submit, it charges the card on file and gives you the same results as before. So again, saved customers are under Invoices, Manage Customers. The customers are under our invoicing system because you now will have access to our invoicing system as well. In addition to a customer database, you can build a database of products. I'll go to Manage Products. Product is just a description of whatever you're billing, along with a corresponding price. Using this information, you can create an invoice to send to a customer. Simply either fill in a customer on the fly or choose one that's previously been saved. Once I choose a customer, I can add items to my invoice. Again, you can adjust the quantity, adjust the price, add a discount on the fly if you need to. I'll just add a number of items to this invoice as an example. Once you have an invoice, I can add a note that will show up in the notes section on the invoice, and I can send this to my customer either by text. If I've got their phone number, I can send them a text link, or I can send them an email with the message if they'd like. What your customer will receive is a formatted, itemized invoice. It'll have your business information at the top, and the thank you for your business image can be replaced with your company's logo if you'd like. It details exactly what the customer is to pay. It can have the notes you put in as well as your terms and conditions. I'll show you where to add that in a moment. And your customer can then go in and fill in their own payment information to process the payment directly through your SunCD account. This is an alternative to your customer calling in with their credit card information. You can send them this invoice and they can pay it in their own time, and you will automatically be seeing the transaction process through your account as soon as it's processed. You will get an email every time someone pays an invoice, and your customer will get a receipt automatically as well. So that's the invoicing menu at the top, Invoices. You can create an invoice. You can list invoices to show the ones that have already been sent, paid. It'll show you the status as well as details. Your customer database is under Manage Customers. Any saved information is there. Manage Products has any products you want to add to invoices. Manage Settings has your invoice settings. You can set a tax rate that will automatically calculate tax if you'd like. Set a number of due days for the invoice. Set your terms and conditions, which will show on every invoice. And specify the logo, the URL of your logo if you want to replace the thank you image that's shown here now. At this point, I'm going to jump over to the configuration menu and show you configuration options. These are things that most people will want to do something with. First, I'll start with batch close time. Our system is set to automatically close your batch once a day. You can specify the time this happens. Any time of the day or night, just choose the hour. Any new account that's been boarded, so all of your accounts at this point, should be set to midnight. And just so you know, everything you see here is on Eastern time because that's where our servers are. So this will be midnight Eastern time. If you want to adjust that, you can choose any hour of the day or night. Let's say I'm on the West Coast and I want it to close at midnight Pacific time. That would actually be 3 a.m. server time, so I choose 3 a.m. and it will automatically close the batch at that time. If you check the box and put an email address here, you can receive your batch report automatically. Batch report will give you a breakdown of all transactions in the batch. It will also show you your totals by card type, so total MasterCard, total Visa, etc., and then your grand total, which should equal your deposit. Again, you can set the auto close. You can also set it to close manually. I do not advise that you do this because if you forget to manually close your batch, the funds don't get processed in a timely manner. So set the auto close to the time of your choice, set the email address, and you will automatically receive your batch report every time they close your batch. Also under config, we have change your password. Everyone has been assigned a randomly generated password when your account was created. If you would like to change it, you can log in and go here. Simply enter the old password and then a new password of your choice, of course twice to confirm and avoid any typos. New password must be at least 7 characters long, must contain both letters and numbers. Those are the only restrictions. Again, passwords have to be at least 7 characters long, must contain at least 1 letter and 1 number. Also on the left, we have Clerk Web Logins. This is where you can set up your own users. You may have as many users on the account as you'd like, and there are 2 levels of user. In the black bar at the top, I can set people to either client administrator or clerk user, and I can give them a username and password of my choice. Again, passwords, same restrictions, 7 characters, 1 letter, 1 number. Username can be anything, but it must not already be taken by someone else in our system. So you can type in a username of your choice. If it's already taken, you'll get an error message saying it's already taken. Otherwise, you will see the user below. If they're an administrator, they have full access to the system. If they're set up as a clerk, you can control what they have access to. You can specify what transaction types they have access to. So if you should not be able to void or issue a credit to a customer, you can turn that off for your clerks. You can specify if they can see multiple accounts if you have multiple accounts set up. You can specify if you can see other people's transactions or only the ones they've processed. You can specify if they can see batch reports and totals reports or not. You can specify if they can export using our export function. I should note that even though you cannot export full card numbers from our system, you can export data such as addresses, zip codes, phone numbers, emails, if they're in here. You can also specify if they can change any settings in our apps. And just to note, these users work across platforms. So on our desktop software, on our mobile apps, and on the web portal, your user can use their same username and password. I can turn off their access with a click of a button. That turns off their access so they can no longer log in or process or see anything. Restore access will give them that access again. Generate a new password. We'll generate a password and display it up at the top so you can give that clerk their password. A note about the email address here, that will become the from email when the clerk sends an email receipt. So if you want your clerks to have the receipt sent from their email so that their customers can reply directly back to them, you can add their email addresses there. You can also just leave them blank or have one email address as the default, and that will be the from email address for all emails. Finally, on the left under config, we have close batch. If you would like to manually close your batch, just click here, click the button, and it will immediately close all outstanding transactions. Just a note again, if you do have any questions once you begin using the system, we do have 24/7 phone support. Our phone number, toll-free and local numbers are below the menus as well as on our main website. There's also support@slimcd.com if you'd like to send an email. Have any questions that way, we will respond to you quickly. And at that point, I'm going to go ahead and open it up and we'll take any questions you may have. So if anyone has any questions about something I've shown or something I may not have shown, if you need me to repeat anything, please let me know now.
Well, Mike, maybe you did a fabulous job.
If anyone does have any questions later or wants to get in contact with us, you can call our support team, and we can help you out one-on-one as well.
All right. Well,
if no one does have any questions, your accounts are active. You should have your login information at this time, and you are free to go ahead and start processing transactions, check all your recurring, check your customers. Let us know if anything is missing or misplaced. Sorry, Rob, go ahead.
All right. Well, once again, folks, thank you for joining the training, and we will make this available on the landing page where you signed up for the training, as well as there's also some additional videos. But as Mike shared with us, there's also ways to, through the system, get the additional training videos. So if there are no more questions, thank you, everyone, for your time. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll end the session now.